Shamrock Roofing and Construction, a proud supporter of Cars for Heroes and giving back to those in need. ShamrockRoofer.com. And we're presented by Boda Box Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. And I know for a lot of you, you were listening to Game 3 of the World Series, but not to worry. You can still catch that. It's just over on 1510 a.m. ESPN Kansas City. So if you're in baseball mode and you want to hear that continued broadcast of the World Series between the Blue Jays and Dodgers, you can check that out on 1510 a.m. But if you want to hear our thoughts and you want to give yours on the Chiefs' 28-7 victory over Washington, you can do so at 913-381-0810. That's 913-381-0810. I go back to the last time Kansas City played on Monday Night Football, which was in Jacksonville. It was that collapse they had against the Jaguars. I really don't need to jog your memory. You know what game I'm referring to. Patrick Mahomes, the pick six, the defense couldn't get off the field. And every once in a while, for every team, you have that game that you look back to. And more often than not, it's a loss. Or it's some, unbelievable comeback victory. But for the great teams out there, the ones that can sustain the dynasty, this will sound weird, but it's usually after games you lose like that. It's your wake-up call, to put it simply. And I thought for the Kansas City Chiefs, that was their wake-up call. Now, I should point out, they were not 100% healthy in that game, but everybody's banged up in the NFL. Sure, you had some key guys that were out. It was Worthy's first game back, but you still didn't have Rashee Rice. But you had the majority of your talent out there, and you blew that game. And back then, when we were recapping that Monday night thriller, I didn't really want to say, well, they are the better team, and they gave that one away. And when we look back in a couple of weeks, the better team will really be showing itself. Well, what have we seen since that game? The Chiefs went 3-0 on their homestand, and Jacksonville is just struggling to catch back on again. Because that game usually doesn't happen to the Chiefs in that type of spot. As we said back then, it's happened when they're 6-0 or 8-1. They have their one off day. But that night, that loss put them back under 500 when they had just won back-to-back games, and you felt like things were starting to click. And then they had to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and get back to town and take on a really good Lions team. Yes, a banged-up defense that Detroit had, but the Chiefs took care of business. They won that game by 2 scores. They then flipped the script. They turned the page to Raider Week. They bludgeoned the Raiders 31-0. Then tonight, just when you felt like it could be maybe a trap game, you got Buffalo next week. Jaden Daniels is not playing. You go up against Marcus Mariota, who's just a name that sends a chill down your spine if you're a Chiefs fan. And you go, man, could this actually be a game that he keeps it close and pulls off a last-minute stunner at Arrowhead? And now we're 4-4 going to Buffalo right before the bye week. Yeah, I guess you could have made that case for the first half. But I'll tell you this. If the Chiefs of last year played this game tonight, we're sweating that out in the final minutes. That game is 17-14, and the defense comes up with a turnover late, or there's a missed kick because, as we know, Washington did not have their starting kicker in Matt Gay. In fact, they had former Chief Matthew Wright, kicking one extra point for them today. But that also dictated how they operated. They could not have the the comfort in sending their kicker back out there. They had to go for it on all these fourth downs. 4th and 5, 4th and 4, 4th and 2. I mean, I thought the way that Dan Quinn called that game was correct. You had to be overly aggressive against this Chiefs team. And what should make you feel even better tonight, because I know I really haven't gotten to the negatives yet, but when you win by 21, there's not going to be a lot to choose from. But the Chiefs had 2 interceptions on their first 2 drives tonight. One, Patrick Mahomes' fault, the other, Travis Kelce's. And those 2 interceptions led to no points for Washington. So I tip my cap to the Chiefs defense, who has come to play the last 3 weeks. As I said, the wake-up call they had in Jacksonville, it certainly has resonated over these last 3 games. Yes, all at home, and it's a different environment you're stepping into next week. But you have altered your direction this season. I should point out, they're still trailing Denver in the standings, and they don't have the head-to-head with LA, so they're chasing them in the standings. But how you feel about this team is so much different than how you felt the last time they played on Monday Night Football against the Jacksonville Jaguars. 28-7 the final. They overcome the 2 interceptions. But overall, I thought Patrick Mahomes was really efficient. The 1 interception he had on 3rd and 10, I mean, it was just great coverage by Lattimore. Really good coverage. And he hadn't been all that great this season, so I understand testing him there. I want to say that was Hollywood Brown's only target of the night as well. Yeah, he didn't have any catches. But you try the one-on-one, it's 3rd and 10. You're hoping that worst-case scenario, it's batted down. He picks it off. That's on Patrick Mahomes. The second one, Travis Kelce's got to come down with that. But I'm not going to spend too much time on, oh, man, Travis has to do better than that. That's pathetic. He went 6 for 99 to lead the team tonight with a touchdown. Tice Priest-Holmes, all-time in touchdowns as a Kansas City Chief. I mean, he just continues to surprise you each and every week. This is a guy that should not be putting up 99 yards receiving to lead the team. Now, I would have expected that back in 2016 and 17. The fact he's still doing it, it's awesome. And we all know why. It's because there's way too many options to worry about if you're an opposing defense coming in to face this offense. Rashee Rice, 9 for 93 and a touchdown. Xavier Worthy, 5 for 53. Juju, 2 targets, but 2 for 29. Noah Gray, 2 for 23. Kareem Hunt only had 1 catch, but it was a touchdown. When you put up 28 points, you have 2 turnovers, and Hollywood Brown, who's been one of your top receivers, doesn't even have a catch tonight. Last year's team would have not put away a team like that in the second half. This one can. This one can blow you out. They can beat you by double digits even on nights they don't play their best football. But what I can say is this, because that's not the type of offense you want to see next week in Buffalo. I'll take the second half offense. Oh, the 21 points. Patrick Mahomes barely had any incompletions. And oh, by the way, they averaged 4.9 yards a carry per night. I'll take that. I absolutely will take that with the collection of guys they have. Isaiah Pacheco, 12 for 58. Kareem Hunt, 9 for 40. And Mahomes had 30 yards on the ground, though I actually believe he had 32, and then the kneel down at the end of the game actually gave them under 5 yards a carry. So we'll just subtract that. They averaged 5 yards a carry tonight. And that opened things up in the second half. 25 of 34 for 299, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. A quarterback rating tonight of 104.9 for Patrick Mahomes. After those first 2 drives, I would have said, I'm not expecting that type of performance. Just win ugly, move on to next week. But that's a comfortable win, 28-7. The defense, they're going to allow you to blow out teams. If they look like this the rest of the year, the Chiefs are going to have more than their fair share of blowouts, certainly against those terrible teams. And Washington's not a terrible team. They are incredibly banged up. And that defense came to play in the first half. But the adjustments that were made felt very similar to the adjustments that were made in Jersey against the Giants on Sunday Night Football. Ugly first half. You button things up. Maybe somebody got loud in the locker room. And then you come out ready to play in the second half. They did that. And now all 5 of your victories have been by 2 scores or more. You beat the Giants by double digits. You beat the Ravens by double digits. You beat the Lions by double digits. You beat the Raiders by double digits. Same thing goes for the Washington Commanders. And that defense has now allowed just 1 touchdown in their last 2 games. And they were wildly impressive in that Lions game as well. That's a tough offense that you have to bottle up. Now, here coming up shortly, we are going to get, I believe, Rashee Rice and Nick Bolton at the podium live. So, Dylan, quick question to you. Should we take the phone calls now, take a break, or should we just wait till they get to the podium, since it could be any second now? Okay, so let's try to get to some of the calls here. We'll go to Gary first. Gary, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. Thanks for working late tonight for us.
Of course, man.
Well, after watching that game, that first half, let's just say it was a slog to get through. I think the Chiefs were outplayed in the first half, but second half they came out, did what they had to do, got out of there with a W. But let's look at something here. Jack Cochran must love playing on Monday nights to hear his name, because that's 3 penalties for holding on returns on Monday Night Football in his last 2 Monday night games. So he tries to redeem himself with the INT at the end of the game. But I think that there are some things defensively that need to be worked on. You need so much more from the interior than what you're getting. You need more from Chris Jones than what you're getting. George Karlaftis had a good game tonight. I think that Ashton Gelati's lost out there. If you saw him a couple times tonight, the ball carrier went right by him. He could have made a play on the ball carrier. He just let him go right on by. Secondary played a great game tonight. Yeah, they had a couple hiccups, but I think the secondary played a good game tonight. Special teams, the return game, some things need to work on, but offensively, up front, get healthy. We have to get Josh Simmons and Trey Smith back going into this game in Buffalo, because that's not going to be an easy ball game no matter what the records are. These 2 teams just throw it out the window, because it's going to be a street fight on Sunday. I'll hang up on this, and great show, guys.
Yeah, appreciate the phone call, Gary. Well, I don't expect Josh Simmons to be back for the Buffalo game. Trey Smith, in part of why he sat out tonight, I just feel that they were trying to rest him up for the Buffalo game. There was an injury up front for that Bills defensive line. Ed Oliver has the biceps injury. Seems like his timetable is still uncertain, so can't expect him to be available in that game. But as we know, in playing the Buffalo Bills, you got to be stout up front. If Josh Simmons were back or active, I don't know if he would take that spot from Jalen Moore. He hasn't played the last 3 games. So when he is active, which I believe the reports or the initial reports out there that I saw over the weekend was after the bye week, which would be against Denver, maybe we'll see what happens then. But Jalen Moore is that guy that you can count on to start against Buffalo. Trey Smith, hopeful, optimistic, definitely going to need him up front. I thought Mike Callahan did a good enough job. A couple times he got walked back into the pocket, and we just know that Trey Smith's one of the better guards in all of football, so that's a pretty big gap that you would be dealing with. Sure, there are some guys you need to have more from on the defensive line. I just don't know if I'm going to be too harsh on them tonight. They held Washington to 7 points. Yeah, Mariota looked pretty good early on. He can be a difficult backup guy to defend. He's got that dual threat ability. Cliff Kingsbury had a good game plan for him going into this one. At the end of the day, though, you hold a team to 7 points, you're going to win pretty much every single one of the games out there as long as Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. Let's go back to the phone lines here and go to Kyle. Kyle, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Great show, like always, guys. Couple things. Defense, you just took the words out of my mouth. The defense played really well tonight. I'm not going to complain. And by the way, I loved how they were getting pressure on Mariota, even though they didn't. I think they got to him a couple times. But when you put pressure on him, he's going to make mistakes. Anytime you put that much pressure, and Marcus Mariota made a mistake and threw an INT. So if you do that to most quarterbacks in that game, three things either going to happen. One, a turnover. Two, sack. Three, they're going to throw the ball away or run out or just try to get as many yards as they can. So that's really well. I thought the defensive line played a well game tonight, getting to the quarterback and stopping the run. Second thing is the offense. Gosh, with all three of these guys on the field, like Hollywood Brown didn't get much action, but when you got weapons like that, you never know who's going to get the ball. You never know who. So Hollywood Brown might have been covered, but you saw Travis Kelce wide open. You saw Juju Smith-Schuster wide open. You saw Rashee Rice. And then Xavier Worthy a few times. So when you have wide receivers, it is tough for defenders to cover. So I don't know what these defense. Yeah, I'm not a defensive coordinator, but they probably just go, okay, who's going to be the best, most target? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh crap! Well, we don't know who's going to get the ball because it's so hard for Mahomes. I mean, it's so hard for these defenses when you have that many weapons. It's like the 2019 Chiefs. You never know who's going to have 100-yard receiving because that one person might be covered. Like I said, that one person might be covered, but then you got some guys wide open. So that is pretty impressive. This offense is back, and I am super. By the way, I'm going to be very optimistic. I'm going to pick Chiefs to beat Buffalo by 14. Okay. And I think we have the defense, and I think we have the offense to do it. The only thing is beating ourselves that we almost did in that first half. But from what I saw in the second half, as long as you clean that stuff up from the first half, this team can beat Buffalo. They can beat anybody. It's just you can't beat yourselves. And I'll listen. Thank you for taking my call, and I'll listen off the air.
I appreciate the phone call, Kyle. Great stuff. Man, if you're taking them to beat Buffalo by 14, and it does happen, we'll give you your flowers this coming Sunday on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. I don't believe there's been any time after 2020. I know that was a comfortable win in the COVID year when they went up to Highmark Stadium. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had his career best game, but that's the last time I can recall the Chiefs comfortably winning a game against the Buffalo Bills. If they do it by 14, the rest of the NFL is going to be in panic mode. We know at that point, if the Chiefs have gone 6-1 since their 0-2 start, and they would have gone up to Buffalo and won by 2 scores, the rest of the league is thinking, now they got their bye, trade deadline's coming up, maybe they add some help to that defensive line. But if this offense can stay healthy up front in the receiving game, keep everybody involved, it's just going to be a tough team to stop come December and January. I mean, if this is how they look now, imagine in some of those late season games. I'm picturing Christmas night against the Broncos. I'm picturing the primetime matchup on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. When they take on the Colts, who knows if that game gets flexed or not. Right now it's at noon. But they're going to be so ready to play in those games. And if they're healthy, they're going to be able to look like they did in the second half pretty much every single week. I mean, Matt Araiza punted once tonight, and they turned it over twice. Now, that does impact it, right? But still, 28 points. You rarely see Matt Araiza anymore. Maybe one punt a game. The offense, even when it's not as clean and efficient as it was last week, to put up nearly 30 points, and you call off the Dogs on your final possession of the game, this offense has that potential, has that ceiling to be one of the better ones in the Patrick Mahomes era. It's unrealistic to ever expect an offense to look like it did back in 2018, his first year as a starter. But why not shoot for the second best? They've got the playmakers. Rashee Rice is an unbelievable difference maker in this offense. Just a quiet 90-plus yard receiving night with a touchdown. The screen game for him, the inside a 10-yard route game for him, it's all so explosive for this offense. And as I'm going to continue to say throughout tonight's show, last year's team takes this Washington team down to the wire. There's a game-winning field goal or game-winning turnover that wins it. Tonight, an incredibly strong second half from Kansas City. Solid half for Patrick Mahomes. Not too many issues with the running game tonight. And defensively, people tomorrow will say, well, Marcus Mariota was playing. People are going to say that, and that's fine. Because what you have to do to back up quarterbacks is that. Turn him over twice, sack him a couple of times, hold that offense under 10 points. Do that to the backup quarterbacks, and you should feel just fine. Let's go back to the phone lines here and get to Jerry. Jerry, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. What's on your mind?
Good evening. I think the game was awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did.
Oh, for sure.
Believe it or not, you guys, I can't really add much to anything all of you guys have said, except that it was a historic game for at least four of the guys and probably for more of them. Patrick Mahomes went over 40,000 yards, and I guess Kelsey, he's like tied with Priest Holmes, I think, for touchdowns. Him and Patrick have, 80? Or he's got his 100th touchdown tonight. That's pretty cool. Then there's Jack Cochran got an interception, and Mike Dana. That was really cool, and because at least Marcus Mariota didn't get to recover his own pass and run it in for a touchdown. So I'm thankful for that. Otherwise, the thing that struck me funny was when Kelsey got knocked down behind the line to gain, I guess, or behind the line of scrimmage. He was kind of irritated by that. Then he came back and helped with the interception. He bumped it up. They intercepted it, but then he tackled him. I'm glad that he didn't get into his own head. I'm glad that he kept his cool. I'm glad that he felt at ease and kept his head in the game, and look how it turned out for him. It was really awesome. And Patrick was having fun. You could see it. Andy Reid was having fun at the end of it, talking to Chris Jones and George Karlaftis. I really enjoyed the game completely. I'm sorry I'm so boring, but I hope you guys have a great night.
No, not at all, Jerry. It's not boring at all. You bring up some great points. Historical marks for the Chiefs tonight. Yep. Travis Kelce, 83 career touchdowns. As a member of the Chiefs, he ties Priest Holmes for that mark. So we know he's only going to continue to rise up the ranks there. And it's something you can't take for granted. Man, I don't know how much longer he's going to be doing this. This could be it. And if this is it, we know he wants to go out with one final Super Bowl championship, but to put together years like this, to put together potentially a final season like this, where he's either going to have 1,000 yards or get damn close to it, that is remarkable. He is a player that is nearly impossible to replicate. There are going to be people debating his name with Tony Gonzalez and Rob Gronkowski for a long, long time. Who was the best tight end ever? If it's just for the Chiefs, I know how a lot of Chiefs fans already feel. I know with Travis playing for the Chiefs, he's not going to get a lot of that outside support. But 99 yards tonight, another touchdown. It's so much different than last year. He looks like he's got an extra boost. He's quicker. Had the one gaffe resulted in an interception for Patrick Mahomes. He'll probably take immediate blame for it in the postgame tonight, but I don't care. You follow that up with a 99-yard night to lead the team and a touchdown, I'll forgive you on the one mistake you had in the game. Let's go to Andre. Andre, you're on the Red and Gold postgame show.
Hey, man, I want to go ahead and throw my flowers to Kelsey as well, man, with the TDs, man. I can't think of a better guy to represent the Kansas City Chiefs organization, man. You know, when Kelsey's going, the Chiefs are going. I can't think of any player that lights up Arrowhead Stadium the way Kelsey does, man. So he's just a great, great football player, and I've enjoyed watching this guy play. for well over a decade. I heard Aikman come out and say that the defense has only given up 24 points in 3 weeks. You know, much as we love Pat Mahomes and Kells and Andy Reid, man, if you got a defense out there that's holding teams to 24 points over 3 weeks, you can just about call anything on your playbook. You know, it just gives Andy and the offense enough time to figure out what's going on, and eventually with the Chiefs personnel that they're going to get you. With Rashee Rice, it looks like he's going to get the ball. He's going to get the ball quite often. I'm not sure how you double team a guy like that when he's always catching screens and things underneath. So I'm not sure what do you do with him, but they are definitely featuring him in the offense. And just really enjoyed it, man. The defense, I'm really proud of them guys, what they're doing. It was good to see a couple other guys get sacks other than Chris Jones tonight. And, man, I think just looking forward to this Buffalo game, man, so we can really see where we stand in the AFC, and I think they'll go out next week and make a statement. Hey, man, great show, man, and I'll be listening up, bro.
All right, love the stuff as always, Andre. And I know a couple weeks ago, in fact, it was the Jacksonville game. You pointed out that, hey, the defense had the chance to make some of those plays. They're right there. They're right there, but they're not making them. Last 3 games, absolutely been making nearly every single play. They're getting the turnovers. A couple times they're getting to the quarterback, but next week, as you already pointed out, the big showdown at Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park against Buffalo, a rematch of the AFC Championship game. Chiefs haven't had as much success in the regular season against them. We all know about the postseason success. But to win in that game, you got to put some heat on Josh Allen. Be a big night, or a big afternoon, I should say, for Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, Mike Dana, Charles Omenihu. Maybe the rookie and Ashton Gelati can be a little bit more active. Spags is going to have to be on his game, because if you're not careful, that offense, as we saw against Carolina, they get James Cook going, they get the receiving game going, they open up pretty much every part of that offense with the play action. So Chiefs and Bills next Sunday, 3:25. We'll have you covered with the Red and Gold postgame show right after the game. Let's kick things over to Jeff. Jeff, you were on the Red and Gold postgame show. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it very much. A bit of a non sequitur here, but did you notice the personal foul call on Rashee when he was tossing the ball, and he tried to go over and plead his case to Andy? He's like, I was just tossing the ball back to the referee, and it inadvertently hit the other guy in his helmet, and I got called for it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it did look like the official was right there. After a play like that, as we've seen so many times in the NFL, a receiver might be taunting a little bit. If it was wrong place, wrong time, then I could hear Rashee Rice out a little bit.
Do you think that he was tossing the ball at the guy's head, or do you think that he was tossing the ball back to the referee?
My honest opinion is that I think he saw the official there, and I think he thought it was a good opportunity maybe to throw it at the head of the cornerback that he was on. That's at least what I took away. Maybe I'm way off base, and he tried to get it to the official, but he was right there. He could have lobbed it a little bit higher, and that hit the guy directly in the middle of the helmet.
Well, if you heard Aikman said Rashee's going over and pleading his case to Andy. What case does he have to plead? And then they went back and they showed the replay, and then they showed the footage of Rashee with Andy going, look, I was just tossing it back to the referee, you know, and I thought it was there's an argument that can be made.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I needed. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the call, Jeff. Yeah, in a spot like that, the only reason he's pleading his case is we know with Andy Reid he doesn't stand for stuff like that. And Patrick Mahomes went up to Rashee in the huddle right after that and said, hey, got to be smarter than that. Even if you were trying to get it to the official, you directly threw a football at somebody's helmet in front of the official. Whether it was intentional or not, we're getting flagged for that.
Here's what I'll give him. It's not a dumb it's a penalty. It's not a dumb penalty because he was smart enough to make it look like he was throwing it to the official. But you're right. You just put a little more air on that, and he knows that.
So
it's not a dumb penalty. It was a pretty smart one, but it's a penalty. He was doing it. You don't just perfectly throw it to the ref and also perfectly. I mean, you could have gotten it over him. If that was your teammate, you would have thrown it over him.
Absolutely. It'd be one thing, too. I don't know. I feel you have that natural reaction if you ever throw something that is about to hit somebody and you weren't intending to it. What do? It's like you almost try to grab the ball back. You're like lunging for it midair, and Rashee Rice threw that thing, and then after it hits the guy, he's like, oh, I wasn't trying to hit him. But the good thing is, for that point, like with the Travis Kelce mistake, right? Actually, let's find out with Rashee Rice. He's at the podium, then we'll get to your calls next. Here's Rashee Rice.
So they can give me the ball or somebody the ball as soon as possible. wasn't looking at you initially, are you sitting there? There's probably no way you can gather his attention, or you're sitting there thinking that you had it in the lane there?
I mean, honestly, Pat's real unpredictable. I'm pretty sure everybody can see that while he's playing. So I was just kind of running as fast as I could to get in front of his eyesight. He's running to the sideline. I probably would have ran to the sideline with him. So as long as I was, vertical to him, then as long as he could see me, I was, had my hands ready for the ball.
What went into the near touchdown that you were in the lab at?
Could you repeat that?
The near touchdown where you reached over and like was scored and then followed that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a big play. Pretty cool to be in the backfield playing quarterback, feeling like Pat Mahomes. But I had Xavier at running back. It's just an option play that we have. We're reading the DN. If the DN would have played me, I would have gave the ball to X. And, once the ball's in their hands, we're just being playmakers. Follow my blockers and gave all the effort that I could to reach out for the touchdown. It turned out not to be a touchdown, but next play, Reem ran the ball in. So, we were a successful offense that drive.
Was there a backstory to that play at all? Like how it came together in practice or how it was first pitched in?
Honestly, I don't. There might be a backstory, but Coach Reid's been coaching so long. The backstory probably goes back so long. So I got to ask him about the backstory. It's something behind it, though.
When you're in practice, how many times do you guys get to run that in a week to be ready for it?
I would say max maybe about 2 to 3 times. We always run it multiple times so that if my shoe is untied, someone else can come in and know how to run the play.
What's it like to be a part of this team and this offense right now?
It's almost unexplainable. It's really fun, obviously. It's even more fun to see each week how we progress and how each week someone else is getting involved in making big plays or touchdowns in the offense.
Were you guys frustrated at halftime at all? You guys had put a lot of points on the board there in the first half. So what was the feeling in the locker room?
Not necessarily frustrated. Just trying to focus on paying attention to the small details that got us to exactly where we were last week. So we just had to dial in and focus on ourselves a lot more and come out with energy, and that's what we did for the second half.
On the penalty, you were trying to throw it looked like you were saying you're trying to throw the ball to the ref.
Yeah, I was trying to throw the ball to the ref. He put his hands out for the ball. But, it's okay. I mean, we won the game, next play. That's all it could be.
You keep saying having a lot of fun. You missed, obviously, the first couple games of the season. A few games of the season, you get right back into it. 19 targets, 9 catches. How much more fun are you having now being actually a big part of this offense?
I'm having more and more fun each game. I'm probably having more fun in practice throughout the week just because I know what our preparation is like and how much we're going to be prepared for whatever game and whatever opponent's in front of us on game day.
Last two, Matt.
I'm just curious, in the second half, you guys, first 2 drives, all touchdowns, all 75-plus yard drives. What does it feel like as you start to get on that roll offensively? What does it say about the offense that you guys can just kind of blow the game out as quickly as you did there in the third and early fourth?
Yeah, it says a lot about us specifically. We know personally that we just really need to focus on us in order to come out and execute. We can't necessarily come out and have the same energy or match the energy as another team because we're preparing to win and they're preparing for us.
We're seeing a lot's been made about your return, but I wonder what you're seeing in Travis's game and what he did tonight and how that still is coming along for him.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of spark out of Trav. I constantly see spark out of Trav, though. It's never really gone. He's a very patient player, and that's how he plays his whole offensive game, and I've been learning that from him constantly. First half was slow, and me and him had a talk as soon as we came out before the second half started. And, I mean, he didn't really have to say too much, but just for Trav to come to me and just kind of tell me I just need to get going, even though I kind of felt like I was going, it still meant a lot.
And when a player, this probably happened to you have an early play go bad with a deflection, how hard is that to get back into the game, and how do you see him do that?
Personally, I don't think it's hard at all. We got a great quarterback, a great O-line. We got a great full team, coaching staff and all. So, like I said, we just focusing on ourselves. We don't really focus on the pass play because it's always the next play or next man up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was Rashee Rice after the game, his second one since returning from suspension. And we might be getting Nick Bolton here shortly. If it's not Nick Bolton, And it's somebody else. Sounds like it's somebody else. We'll be able to get to these phone calls here. We still got 3 to go. Then we'll hit our first break of the show. Let's jump over to Jay. Jay, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. Go ahead.
Hey, man, thanks for taking the call. I love the show.
Appreciate it, man.
I'm scratching my head a little bit, and we're going to learn a lot with Josh Allen on Sunday. The defense, although it looks good, I don't want to be the doubting Thomas caller, but it's look at who these guys have beaten over the last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand you don't pick your schedule, right? And it just they have beaten the tar out of these teams. But we're going to learn a lot from this team on a short week in Buffalo. What I don't understand also, and maybe I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, it was a tale of two halves. How can one team look absolutely explosive in the second half and look so lethargic in the first? And I'll give you my theory, and I'll listen off the air. My only theory is Andy wanted to come out and run the most vanilla play calling ever to where he wouldn't have to show anything and see if he could get away with it. And they ultimately found out, okay, we actually got to go and run some of the good plays, for lack of a better term. Do you buy into that at all, and why it was such a tale of two halves? And I'll listen off the show. I love the show. Thanks much.
Hey, thanks for the kind words, Jay. Always appreciate it. What I would say with the tale of two halves, in the first half, I've always had, and if you don't have that bell cow running back, you can find yourself straying away from the running game. Isaiah Pacheco or Kareem Hunt are just not going to be those 20 to 25 carry down backs. And that's when I feel the Chiefs can really open up the offense, is when you get the running game going, you have to worry about stopping that. And now you got to worry about these collection of receivers and tight ends out there. But for the Chiefs, I believe at halftime it was more so of, look, guys, this is not a very good defense we're going up against. I thought that Washington came out with tremendous energy to start this game. They probably felt they were being overlooked. They got walked over by Dallas the previous week, who put up 44 on them. They were not about to let that happen again, as good as this Chiefs offense has been. But when you are an offensive mastermind like Andy Reid, you can go back to the drawing board and simplify things a little bit. Hey, let's try to get Rice more involved. Let's try to get Worthy more involved. And some of these plays where everything breaks down, let's try to be more active in getting open. I thought the Chiefs did a really good job in doing all of those things. And about the reserving the playbook, right? The vanilla calls in the first half. It is an excellent point you bring up. Why I would push back is that Buffalo and Kansas City, for that matter, are very aware of what they both do. A lot of the same guys have been back over these last few years, and they know the routes that Rashee Rice runs. They know the routes that Xavier Worthy runs. It doesn't mean you're always going to be able to stop them, but in the NFL, I just always try to, not use that same comparison as we do in college, right? In college, you don't play everybody every single year. You have these schools you've never played before, and there could be those trap games of, we don't want to show our hand before we play in Alabama or in Ohio State. In the NFL, I just feel there's too much out on you. Some of these guys have been with the team for years and years and years, and I don't believe it was a matter of Andy Reid not wanting to show his hand in the first half. I think we got to credit Dan Quinn and that entire defensive staff for having those guys ready to play. Getting some pressure on Patrick Mahomes, that's another part to this as well. You had Mike Caliendo out there. Jalen Moore was still a backup tackle to begin this year. You have 2 starters that were out tonight, and I felt that impacted the way they were trying to run their offense. But you get back to the drawing board, you attack some of the weaker units on that defense. That's what I saw when it was all said and done. But very fair points that you bring up here. All right, lastly, let's get to Dan to round out our caller list here. Dan, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. Wrap it up.
Hey, Jack, how you doing? Yeah, it was a great win by the Chiefs, even though it was a sloppy start. I knew Andy would figure it out, and he did, But it was a great game by the offense. 2 touchdowns by Kareem Hunt, and a touchdown by Travis Kelce, even though he made up for it, and a great touchdown by Pacheco, and the defense played lights out. And I agree with you on the Rashee Rice. I don't think that was that much. And Charles Menu, I don't think that was that much either. He got into it with one of the Washington assistants, even though I don't think he did that much, on the defender, So let's take care of business with the Bills. Take care of yourself, Jack.
Hey, same to you, Dan. Always love when you bring the energy here on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. And next week, I know we'll have lots of callers, no matter how that game turns out, whether it be a win for the Chiefs or a loss. You can do so at 913-381-810. We'll take our first break of the show. When we come back, we'll probably be hearing from Nick Bolton right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Might have bobbled it and then got tackled once he came back into the field of play. It's a great job by him creating separation and making a play on the ball. Nope, he had it. I thought he bobbled it right there, but he's got firm possession of the football.
That ties Priest Holmes for the #1 spot on the all-time list for touchdowns with the Chiefs. Number 83.
And you heard it from Joe Buck right there. The 83rd career touchdown for Travis Kelce, tying him with Priest Holmes for most in Chiefs history. That, of course, is going to be the play of the game, which is brought to you by Central Bank. Join the best in banking when you open an account with Central Bank. Central Bank, strong roots, endless possibilities, member FDIC. And you are locked into the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is presented by Boda Box Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. Also presented by Shamrock Roofing and Construction, a proud supporter of Cars for Heroes and giving back to those in need. ShamrockRoofer.com. I'm your host, Jack Johnson. Dylan Michaels producing this thing. Dylan Brett making sure all of the audio is cut up, and we still got plenty that'll be coming your way. You'll hear from Patrick Mahomes. You'll hear from Andy Reid. Shortly, we are going to hear from Nick Bolton, and later on, we'll get Mike Dana, who had his first career interception on the opening drive tonight. Also might get some audio from Creed Humphrey. Also, Travis Kelce was on with Scott Van Pelt. So really, a plethora to choose from. We got a lot of audio that we can get to tonight. The Chiefs a winner at Arrowhead Stadium, 28-7. It was close in the first half. The Chiefs turned it over on their first two possessions. One of them Patrick Mahomes' fault, the other Travis Kelce's. And it was 7-7. I mean, there wasn't much to like about that first half. But as good teams do, as dominant teams do, you go back to the drawing board, you make some adjustments, and you come out with not necessarily your hair on fire, but you come out with a different intensity, and the Chiefs certainly did that. They score on their opening possession and never really looked back after that. And then when Travis Kelce brought in that touchdown to give him 83 as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs, you knew this game was going to be put away. Speaking of Travis Kelce, he was on with Scott Van Pelt after the game. Here was that interview right here.
Still in the building, cheering for the man sitting next to me. It's royalty, Travis Kelce.
Still rocking.
Yeah, they are. Listen.
They've been rocking since you had the other Kelce here, man. When am I going to see my brother up here? You guys are from places in and out.
You know what? I'd love for him to stick around, but he's got places to go and people to see.
He's got a beer in his hand by now.
He's an important dude, and let's just start with what you did. Look, the game you won, that's important, and we'll get to it. But you tie the franchise record. We set that up on Countdown that it could happen. To do that, and to take a minute in the midst of a season you're still playing, but recognize what you've done over the course of your career here. How do you frame what it represents, man?
I mean, look at this right here, man.
Yeah.
I just cherish these moments, man. Coming out here, being able to play in front of the Chiefs Kingdom and at Arrowhead, we were talking about it during the break, man. This place is special, man.
It really is.
And I love it here. And, you know, in terms of, like, the historical stuff, man, I'm still looking at the next game and looking at the next catch and trying to get better every single day. So I think I'll look back at it and appreciate it, but you never know.
And I appreciate that. I remember when you sat down with Chris Berman talking about all that you could look at and go, damn, what have I done? And there's a lot. But in the midst of it, trying to stay present in the present, recognizing that not a whole lot of runway left, right? Like that's important, isn't it, to maintain your spot right here?
100%, man. I got to see my guy Zach Ertz out here today. We both came in 2013. Tight ends forever, baby. I love Zach, man. He had a hell of a run over there in Philly, and he's still doing it today, man.
While we're at it, he had a couple of catches. He joined the group with 800. It's only 6 of you that have done that, so we show him his respect.
And seeing him, man, and talking to him, man, we're cherishing every single one of these games, not knowing how long we'll be able to do this and living this dream as a kid every single week and enjoying this stuff, man.
So this Washington team comes in, they're undermanned, but they brought energy. Patrick mentioned that with Lisa Salters. He said they had an energy in the first half that we didn't have. You kind of catch your breath in the second half. The second 30 minutes is what you all are all about right now, isn't it?
You know it, man, and you know it's the middle of the season. Guys are banged up. Sometimes it takes a little bit more to get things going, and hats off to them for starting fast, man. But I think when you look at the how everything unfolded in the first half. My drop turned into, an interception, things like that. Like, it was kind of us dictating how we were playing. And when we decided at the second half to just rally together, match that energy, and play fast, play strong, play physical, man, we ended up putting some points on the board.
And Pat made that point with Lisa, like, that's going to happen. But I think what you guys are, you're great at a long list of things, but I think your all's ability to just flush it, and it's a cliche, but next play is what I think you guys are as good at as anybody. Is that sort of a conscious thing?
And every single game has its different challenges. You got to kind of figure that out on the run with the guys that are in the building and the guys that are stepping up in positions, knowing we were a little banged up today. So it's just it's always moving forward, but we got the leadership and we got the head coach to be able to get it done versus anybody.
So I asked Joe this question, and I asked Troy this question. I'm going to ask you this question. So it's Monday night down in Jacksonville. You guys lose a wild game, and you're 2-3. And I know you guys can tune it out, but you also have the chatter. You hear people talking, man, the Chiefs 2-3. What's going on, this and that. A month later, and I just said to them, you all feel inevitable. Your ability as a group to just hold down the fort until you get everybody back and move forward with the understanding we've lived in this space for basically a decade. What was the month like from Jacksonville to now in terms of where you guys have gotten to as a group?
I think the biggest thing is just what do we see in the building? What do we see on the film? We were a handful of plays, like 5 to 6 plays away from being undefeated at that point.
Right.
And that's what was real from what I saw on the film, and it was all self-inflicted wounds. And from that point on, you circle the wagons, man. We got a lot of people that love this game, that love to come into work and build the chemistry and find ways to get better every single week. And, I think Coach Reid does it better than anybody, man.
Yeah, but Patrick mentioned, you're the head chief. You're the dude. You're the guy that sets the culture around here. What does that mean to you? The idea of being a guy that, in terms of demeanor and play and professionalism, to set the tone for the group. How do you approach that?
I'm just the old lucky dog that's still able to do this thing, man. I'm putting on the pads like I'm 15 years old again, man, and I'm loving every single bit of it, man.
That's real. Your soon-to-be bride called you a human exclamation point, and I told you, I said I love that because I really believe that's what you are, and that's who you've always been.
Baby.
But since I've known you, and then you've become a totally different guy because you're a true Hall of Famer at this stage of your life, but you maintain an enthusiasm. How have you done that?
Well, like one of my old coaches used to say, either you're a fountain or you're a drain, baby. Either you're giving me life or you're taking it out of me, man. And I like to fuel people with happiness and excitement and get the things fixed that need to get fixed, and at the same time bring some swagger, bring some excitement, and bring some fun to work. And that's
still got some juice.
Who I am, baby.
Still got some juice.
Heck yeah, baby. I gotta find a way to get in the end zone a few more times. But other than that, rocking and rolling.
Hey, one more time, and then it's you above Priest. I said this on the highlight. I hope the young folks know that Priest Holmes could go, man. You talk about the history of this franchise.
I grew up watching that guy with Tony Gonzalez, and even when I came here to Kansas City, I wanted to watch some film on what these guys were all about. What's the kingdom really have in terms of the history? And I watched that guy go and go, and man, it was amazing to see just from like from the football views of how great that man was, and to be in his company, or even to be up here in Kansas City playing in the same jerseys he played in, man, it's an absolute honor.
Well, and you're side by side, and the next one will put you above him for all time. I'm told that, keep the monitor here. We got somebody. There you go. All right.
Oh yeah.
All right, there we go.
Oh, let's go, baby.
Yeah, that's
actually what I look like too, man.
No.
Just as furry.
Well, maybe that, but you've gotten things firmed up this year. You're in great shape. And by the way, you're always incredibly gracious with your time to join me.
Always.
Please, but you could say no because we wear you out. They said, "Who do you want tonight?" I said, "We wear Kelsey out."
Listen, I only come up here if I feel like I've played good enough to come up here, man. I told my brother, you never skip out on SVP, man. You get the opportunity.
He did that when he was still playing, but that's another topic for another day. Meanwhile, this man set some history, kind enough to join us. Stay healthy. I know the bye's coming soon, and you guys could use it to get well. But your guys are rolling, and feels like we'll see you down the road somewhere important when it gets.
Keep my fingers crossed and keep grinding, baby. Appreciate you always.
Stay healthy, ladies and gentlemen. The great history-making tight end.
Kingdom, baby. Let's roll.
Appreciate you, brother.
And that was Travis Kelce after the game with Scott Van Pelt. A great little interview there. And if you missed any of it, you can check it out on the podcast page after the show. And before we hit break, we are going to give the honor of the Chiefs Player of the Game, which is brought to you by the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art. Surprise, surprise, it's going to go to Travis Kelce. The free personal best features 6 Kansas City artist athletes at the top of their game. Come see how discipline, dedication, and drive can power both art making and athletics. Learn more at nelson-atkins.org. We'll take a quick break. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB.
for the touchdown to Hunt. His second of the night. The aggressive Andy Reid has been going for it much more on fourth down. They convert on 4th and goal.
Well, you see, Bobby Wagner's locked up in man coverage, and he plays this. Kelsey comes over. He runs a little pick, but Wagner goes over the top. Looked like he was in a good position, but he expected them to pass it off, and nobody continued with Hunt. And as he always does, Mahomes finds him.
And that was the Andy Reid call of the game, which is brought to you by Shamrock Roofing and Construction, a proud supporter of Cars for Heroes and giving back to those in need. ShamrockRoofer.com. And you are tuned in to the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm your host, Jack Johnson. Dylan Michaels is producing this thing. And just wanted to double check real quick, because I know for some of you, before we started our show, you were listening to Game 3 of the World Series. Well, guess what? It is still going on. It's the top of the 11th between the Blue Jays and Dodgers, of course. Game 3 of the World Series. If you were listening to it and you're confused where it went, it's just over on 15:10 a.m. ESPN Kansas City. But if you want our reaction to the Chiefs' 28-7 beatdown of the Washington Commanders, keep it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. As we always do, we are going to hear from head coach Andy Reid following the game, whether it be a win, whether it be a loss. We are going to get Big Red's thoughts, so let's start things off with the head coach's opening statement following the 21-point victory.
All right. I'd like to thank the fans. They were great tonight. Wild as ever, they were lined up here. Last night when I went over to the hotel, they were lined up and barbecuing, and they were primed and ready to go by the time those gates opened. So I appreciate all their support. I thought our guys played, again, a great second half. First half, we lacked a little bit, but second half we came around and both sides of the ball and special teams and did a nice job there. So a lot of individual accolades that can go out to the guys. The main thing is we played as a team the second half. First half, just a little shaky, but took care of business there. Anyways, with that, Tom Jr.
Well, short and sweet from Andy Reid, and after a game like tonight, you can be short and sweet. But the main takeaway that I had was this defense allowed the offense to shut this game down. I know we usually say the word shut down for a defense, but their intensity in the second half just gave the offense every opportunity to do what they wanted to do. And once you got it to a 2-score game, it was over. You knew that Marcus Mariota and that offense were not going to be able to mount a comeback. But here was Andy Reid on that defense, taking the pressure off of an offense that once again was very good in the second half.
Yeah, no, it's a great thing. They complement each other, which is that's a positive. And at this level, you need everybody. So, but they stay positive. That's the part I appreciate. And even when it's kind of up and down, they stay positive and create energy with that. And we were able to come around and make some plays both sides of the ball.
Now, that's 3 consecutive games where the defense has shown up to play. And they've set the tone almost. And going into this one, that was what I was looking for. If the defense could set the tone, you were going to find a way to make this a comfortable victory. You were a 10.5-point favorite for a reason. The only way they were going to be able to cover that is if the defense did not show up to play. But here was Andy Reid on what impressed him most about the defense's performance.
First half was weird. There wasn't a lot of punting going on either side, and there were no points on the board. So that normally doesn't go on. But those fourth downs were big. They do that. They're one of the more aggressive teams in the league going for fourth down, and they were tonight. So we were able to stop them a couple times. I thought that was positive.
Yeah, I thought there was more of that bend, don't break defense in the first half. You got a couple of turnovers, and you stayed out of a heavily penalized half. But overall, I would say that this defense does have that cutthroat mentality of when they do start shutting down a team, you aren't going to see them get much at all. You aren't going to see them have any extended drives. And I do credit Marcus Mariota for having some of those extended drives early on in the game. But once the Chiefs' offense got rolling, it's just too big of a mountain to climb. It is too difficult for any quarterback, really, to trail by 2 scores against Patrick Mahomes and find a way to come back, not with the defense playing that well. Jumping over to the offensive side of the ball, Andy Reid had the chance to talk about Travis Kelce and his milestone touchdown tonight.
Yeah, it's a compliment to him. There have been some great tight ends here over the years, so for him to be able to do what he's done over this amount of time is great. And still, as you guys know, you come out to practice, you see that energy. He's got energy every day, and he's not the youngest guy, so he just goes and goes.
It's so incredible to watch a guy at his age, and as we've said before, right, mid-30s is not old for the average human. In this sport, it is. And to put up a night like tonight, prime time, you make the mistake early on, but you find a way just to continue making a major impact for this offense. I wasn't counting on Travis Kelce to give you many 90-plus yard performances this season, but right now I want to say he is pacing to get close to an 1,000-yard year because of nights like tonight. He's more active. He's got a spring in his step. He's been rejuvenated, and hard not to be when you've got this many weapons on offense. Speaking of the plethora of options that Patrick Mahomes has, what Matt Nagy has, Andy Reid, Rashee Rice was the second leading receiver in tonight's game. Here was Andy Reid on his performance.
I thought he did good. If you get rid of that little deal at the end, he loves to play, and he's so competitive. But I love the way he goes about it. He works his tail off, and then he's so physical out there. He's like having another running back as a wide receiver.
So it doesn't sound like Andy Reid was buying that Rashee Rice was trying to get that to the official.
I was wondering. Oh, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I was wondering what he meant there.
What little thing is he talking about? He and Charles Omenihu had.
You could tell by him shaking his head and looking down his play sheet that he didn't buy.
I was like,
it.
nope.
Yeah.
No, you're not gonna get that one past me. Yeah. No, I don't believe that Andy Reid thought that Rashee Rice was just trying to give the ball to the official, especially since he did get a little bit of the pile drive on the tackle too. I'm sure he was frustrated that I can't remember who did tackle him, but kind of lifted him off the ground, slammed him into the grass. I'm sure Rashee Rice was, just trying to get the ball back to the official. Let's also talk about another, I guess, mistake, we can call it, from the offense. Although they did put up 28 points tonight, 21 of that came in the second half. Travis Kelce, though he was the star for the offense, he did make a critical mistake on the second drive of the game, a pass that he absolutely catches 9 out of 10 times. It gets knocked up in the air by his own hands and into the arms of Bobby Wagner for Patrick Mahomes' second pick of the night. Here was Andy Reid on Travis Kelce's response to that mistake.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, those things happen, and the main thing he didn't do was hang his head on it. He was mad at himself, but he works through those things. And nothing like getting another catch. So you get another catch, and you kind of erase that. You had some big ones there, so a lot of production.
We usually see this with young players in the offense. When they make that mistake, Andy Reid almost always goes right back to him. But for Travis tonight, he got that treatment. Hey, you made the mistake. You did cost us a drive there. You cost us a conversion. But we're going to make sure that that is a distant memory. You're going to make a big play here. You're going to make multiple big plays, and we're going to get this offense rolling. So Andy Reid, as he's done his entire career, somebody makes a mistake, I'm not going to let you think about it that long. Here was Andy Reid on going back to Kelce after that turnover.
Yeah, so Matt does that, and I thought he did a nice job getting him back involved. So, yeah, it was great. Good for Pat to you have a quarterback that's willing to go back to the guy, too. So a lot of quarterbacks will shy away from that if they've had a bad play. But he goes right back to him.
Well, we know that both those guys are not going to shy away from the connection. Patrick Mahomes, he wants to make sure that his Hall of Fame tight end is still involved in the game, and Travis Kelce absolutely wants to be involved in the game. We got to ask this on the phone line about, what changes at halftime when you come out so lethargic in the game, you only have 7 points, and then you erupt for 21 and have one of your cleanest halves of football this season. Here was Andy Reid on coming out in the second half, far more dominant.
Yeah, so it's tough to score points in this league. So any that you get, you appreciate. I like the way the guys went about it. You're going to need mental toughness when you play in this league. There's so much parity you got to fight through some of the highs and lows. And continue. Even with the good plays, you got to make sure that you're bringing a fastball the next play. So I appreciate the effort in doing that. Yeah, it's a positive.
Yeah, say what you want about the Chiefs, but with this many veteran guys on the roster, they know that, a bad half, that's not them. We got to be mentally tough. We got to be strong enough to come out in the second half and not play with our food. Because that's what they were doing in the first half. They were playing with their food a little bit. The offense was stagnant. They weren't as explosive as the week before. The defense was doing their job, but still allowed some long drives. In fact, Washington scored before the half, so they didn't have all the momentum going into the break. But you come out with a totally different attitude, and it made the difference tonight. You shut them out in the second half. You score 3 times. One of them was a 90-plus yard drive. Just pure and utter dominance from the Kansas City Chiefs in the second half. Here was Andy Reid a little bit more on those halftime adjustments that they made.
Yeah, so we always talk and go through what we'd like to do, but yeah, there are adjustments that are made, sure.
And it's going to be that simple. What wasn't working? Do we need to go back to something? I even caught in the broadcast right before they went into the locker room at halftime. We got to run the ball more. And you might not always want to hear that when you don't have a great group of running backs, but this group did their job tonight. Kareem Hunt, short yardage situations, he got the needed yards. Isaiah Pacheco, a couple of burst runs, got a little bit banged up at the end of the game. But they're getting better each and every week, and I'll credit them for that because I was hard on them early on in the season. But each and every week, you're seeing some longer runs. You're seeing some bigger holes from the offensive line. And they were down 2 starters tonight up front on the offensive line. It was a very odd start to the game. You had the interception from an edge rusher in Mike Dana. Then you have the interception on a 3rd and 10. And then the Commanders didn't do much with that. And then Travis Kelce had the mistake. So it was an odd start to the game overall. Here was Andy Reid on that odd start.
No, I don't. I can't tell you that. That was weird. Yeah.
Weird. Best way to put it. Just a weird start to the game. But great for Mike Dana, who gets his first career interception. Unless I'm blanking on something. I'm fairly certain they called that his first career interception. Right place, right time, as I guess they would call it. And speaking of Mike Dana, here was Andy Reid on the edge rusher's performance tonight.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job. That was a big play there. So one of those turnovers when they were driving the field and he comes in. He made it look easy, but that's not an easy thing to do. And then he had a little yak after it, so he did pretty good.
I thought the biggest play that he made tonight, and we'll see what our stack the box, Boda box defensive play of the game is. The biggest play from Mike Dana tonight was the sack that he had on Mariota at 3rd down. Late in the game, you're up by 14. That was the Commanders' last chance to make it a game. And so many guys, and facing a dual-threat quarterback, they dive at the legs, they don't get them, or they go high and they get juked out. He stayed low, almost like he was in a basketball stance, and Mariota couldn't go anywhere. And he got that sack. It was a big play. That was the twist the knife moment. Pushed him back to 4th and 21. Now you got to punt. Game over. Last 2 here from Andy Reid. First one being on Jalen Moore, who once again, for the 3rd consecutive game, had to fill in for Josh Simmons. How much longer will Jalen Moore be the starting left tackle? I'm not really sure on that, but here was Andy Reid on the performance of Moore tonight.
Yeah, well, Dan's got a good defensive front there. Tap's done a nice job with that crew, coaching them up. And so, and I think he came in and probably a little cautious right at the beginning there, and then he just tuned it up. So, but you got to give them credit. They've got a good front.
They had a good front, and they got tested tonight. And Patrick Mahomes was sacked a couple of times. Good news is it didn't really matter when it was all said and done. Next week, it is going to matter. If Patrick Mahomes doesn't have time, if he's pressured over and over and over again, then you're not going to beat Buffalo at Highmark Stadium. Lastly, here was Andy Reid on the rushing attack of the Chiefs tonight and the injuries they left the game with.
Yeah, well, it starts up front, and then Pop is getting into a groove, and then Kareem, when he has an opportunity to get in there and go, he goes, and he's a jump starter, so he doesn't need a whole lot of carries before he gets going. And then, we've added 24 into the mix and tried to get him, just a few plays a game, and he's responded to that. Nice job. He had one taken away from him. It was a pretty good run there. So, and I should have told you the injuries, because Pop's one of those. Hurt his knee, and Bolton likewise hurt his knee. So we'll just see how they do as we go forward here. All right, good.
So 2 wait and sees there on the injury report. Isaiah Pacheco banged up his knee. I remember that run in the fourth quarter. Didn't really look that good at the time. And then Nick Bolton also was a little bit shaken up with his knee. That was Andy Reid following the Chiefs' 28-7 victory over the Washington Commanders. They are now 5-1 since their 0-2 start to the season. Before we take the break, a reminder that if you want to catch the 12th inning of Game 3 of the World Series between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium, you can check it out on 1510 AM ESPN Kansas City. As for us, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Really excel at the quarterback position in today's NFL. You got to be so instinctive, and I just don't think there's a more instinctive quarterback than Patrick Mahomes.
And that was the magic of Mahomes, which is brought to you by Zintex Remodeling. And you can transform your bath in just one day. Save $999 or choose 0% interest financing. Mention WHB and get a free Kohler toilet with purchase. Visit Zintex.com. That's ZINTEX.com. And you are tuned in to the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is presented by Shamrock Roofing and Construction, a proud supporter of Cars for Heroes and giving back to those in need. ShamrockRoofer.com. We're also presented by Bodabox Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Bodabox, the ultimate tailgate wine. And a reminder that you can check out Game 3 of the World Series right now on 1510 AM ESPN Kansas City. It's the top of the 12th, 5-5 between the Jays and Dodgers. So the Blue Jays trying to find a way to go up 2-1 in this series. Seems pretty paramount considering who the Dodgers have lined up to start over the next couple of days. But if you want to check out the end of that, you can over on our sister station, 1510 AM ESPN Kansas City. Let's get to the thoughts of the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs in Patrick Mahomes. Opened his night with 2 picks on 2 drives, but after that, he was pretty much phenomenal. And he ends up with 3 passing touchdowns, 1 to Kareem Hunt, 1 to Rashee Rice, and 1 to Travis Kelce, who tied Priest Holmes with 83 career touchdowns as a Chief. He needs just 1 more to move to number 1 all-time on that list. But here was Patrick Mahomes on that Kelce touchdown.
Yeah, no, the first read was to Trav on a little out and up, and he kind of got collisioned on the route, which I thought he probably would have won, got collisioned. But we had talked about all week. I told him just to be patient. I was like, be patient. I'm going to be looking the way, but I think you're going to be open. So just be in the spot. And he was the perfect spot at the right time, and was able to push up in the pocket and make the throw to him, and then he got in the end zone.
Well, Patrick Mahomes' voice sure sounds much deeper. I don't know what it could be, but no, I had to double take there for a second to make sure that was him. Usually it doesn't sound like that.
I did too. I thought he was like 30,000 feet below sea level.
Maybe Dylan did something.
Yeah.
Maybe Dylan tried to pull a fast one on us and we didn't notice it. Not you, Dylan, of course. Dylan Brett, who did a phenomenal job tonight. But let's keep things moving here. After that touchdown, Patrick Mahomes had the heads-up approach of grabbing that ball. It always feels like he knows what to do in those milestone moments. Every time there's a first touchdown, a milestone touchdown that's 100 or whatever it would be, he finds a way to get the damn ball. So does he go into these games just knowing what's at stake and who to get the ball to? Here was Patrick Mahomes on that.
Yeah, I mean, I said it at the end on the broadcast. I mean, he's just like the true Chiefs chief. I mean, he is the guy that's been here through the whole thing, been here with Coach Reid the entire time, and he helped set the culture. He helped set the culture of what it means and to play for Coach Reid and to play in Kansas City. And I was able to come in and have that guy to rely on. And so he's breaking all the records now, and he's all about the team, so I want to make sure he gets that. Hopefully we can get another football for him later in the season when he actually breaks the record.
Yeah, hopefully that comes next week, and what a fitting opponent it would be to do that against the Bills. But if it's not the Bills, the next opponent after the bye week would be maybe even better in Mile High against the Denver Broncos. Now, as we mentioned early on in this game, Patrick Mahomes did not have a great start. Interception on the first drive, interception on the second drive. Here was number 15 talking about moving past those 2 turnovers.
No, I mean that stuff happens. It's just like I threw an interception earlier in the game. You gotta move on from mistakes. And they were able to make plays in that first half. But luckily for us, our defense stepped up, and it's a full team. I mean, the defense steps up whenever we're struggling, and we're able to go out there and put up points in that second half, and that speaks to the grit that we have as a football team.
Yeah, speaking about that grit, speaking about that tenacity, that second half was flawless. You go into the break, you're tied 7-7, you've turned it over twice, your defense gave up a score right before the half, and you had a drive get derailed with 56 seconds to go, where maybe you could have gotten Butker in range for a field goal, but not great enough protection, couple of drop passes. Just was a sloppy first half, an ugly first half. But you made those adjustments, and here was Patrick Mahomes on those adjustments at half.
Yeah, when we got in the locker room, we talked about executing. Like it's sometimes you want to press and make stuff happen, especially on a big game like Monday Night Football, and we weren't doing that. They had more energy than we did, their defense versus our offense, and so we had to match their energy and execute at a higher level, and we were able to do that in that second half and start off that first drive, and then we kind of continue that momentum through the rest of the second half.
Well, I thought he put it correctly there. They came out with more energy than us in the first half. And at times, when you're coming off of 2 blowouts like they were coming off of against the Lions and the Raiders, you might be trying to press. You look at the Commanders, hey, we should blow them out too. You see what Dallas's offense did? Let's try to hang 50 on them. And then you get out of rhythm, you're doing too much. And I think that's what the Chiefs were doing in the first half. But good teams, dominant teams, they make those quick adjustments at half, and then they get back to dominating the team they should be dominating. Mahomes also went on to discuss the growth of this team and battling through this adversity they've had to go through this season.
Yeah, I think it shows the growth that we've had as a team. Offense, defense, and special teams. I think we're getting better and better each and every week. And even though we didn't start the way we wanted to today offensively, it showed that we can battle through adversity and still continue to play the brand of football that we want to play. And we'll have to continue to get better and better. This will be a great challenge this next week. And we'll have to start faster. But I was proud of how the guys responded in that second half.
Yeah, they did respond incredibly well. And whether it be injuries, whether it be poor play, the 0-2 start, the Chiefs have done what we've all expected them to do. Get back up on the horse and keep moving. And they're now 5-1, and that one loss was absolutely one they should have had. It shoulda, woulda, coulda stuff. It's hypothetical stuff. But to be 5-1 and your one loss, you outgained a team by over 100 yards. There was a pick six where you were 2 yards from the end zone, and then it's 6 the other way. You kick a ball out of bounds on the final defensive series of the game. All of those things combined, that's what's keeping you from being 6-0 since starting 0-2. That's pretty wild to think about. This team is only going to get better, and they have a great test in front of them before the bye week with the Buffalo Bills awaiting them at Orchard Park. One of the things I've loved to see about this offense is the confidence this coaching staff is giving them. We aren't seeing Andy Reid and company settle for a lot of field goals. If they're within range, if they're near the goal line, if it's 4th and 5 or under that, they're going to leave that offense on the field. But when you're down by the goal line, I would always take Patrick Mahomes' chances to give them 6. And if it fails, at least it failed with your best out there. Here was Patrick Mahomes on going for it on 4th down near the end zone.
Well, they let me know in the helmet that we had 2 plays for it, and so that's just the communication that we have. And so Coach Reid, he believes in us to make those big plays in big moments. And then I think another thing that gets lost in this is he believes our defense is going to get the stop if it doesn't happen. So you got to have a belief in everybody, not just us offensively. And we were able to not that we didn't make it the first time, but we ran a play. They covered it well, and Kareem made a great job getting himself open there at the end.
On 2 of those touchdown plays, in fact, you could probably say on all 3 of the touchdown plays in the second half, there was that improvising from number 15. He's able to roll out a little bit, keep the plays alive, run around his blocks a little bit. And then you've got guys that are just making plays in the secondary. You got guys that are just playing some pickup ball, and they're finding ways to get open there. So I believe we'll actually move on here to maybe all 3 of the phases that were coming together tonight. Not actually that. Okay, we will stick with the improvising clip here. So for this offense, those 3 touchdown plays in the second half, Patrick Mahomes, he was able to elude the pressure and find somebody, whether it be Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce, or Rashee Rice, just to get open and find the end zone.
Yeah, I think we've built this chemistry. Obviously those 2 guys I play with a lot, but even with the receivers and with Noah and all these guys, is that we've been together for a little while now. We had kind of been where we were kind of going in and out of guys and skilled players and stuff like that, but we have guys that have been here for a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is now, and so they have a good feel of kind of finding those open places. I think early in the game there was a couple opportunities I didn't hit, and so the guys to continue to work with me in that second half. I mean, we had a lot of big plays happen on kind of secondary type plays.
Yeah, I would say that all of those touchdown plays in the second half, those secondary plays, as he would like to call it. Now let's hear about those three phases coming together. Special teams didn't have any gaffes. Defense, they hold you under 10 or held an opponent under 10. Offense, 21-0 in the second half. Here was Patrick Mahomes on that.
Yeah, I mean, I know the record's not as good, but it's a lot more fun just when everybody's kind of going out there and making stuff happen. But I think we're getting better and better. You know, we lost some tough games early that we had won in previous years, but it's not like anyone hung their head. They just continue to get better and better, and that's all we have to do is push forward. And whenever the offense, the defense, and the special teams are rolling, it's fun to play football, and it's been fun to be here at Arrowhead doing it, and now we'll get to take it on the road and see if we can do it again.
It's also fun to see this offense overcome some negative plays, right? If you have a bad screen pass, you lose 5 yards, you got a penalty, you're still able to get those chunk yardage plays. And that was a theme tonight, especially in the second half. Here was Patrick Mahomes on overcoming some of those penalties on long drives.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like anything else. You got to pick each other up, and you have some penalties here and there, but how do you respond? And I think that just kind of speaks to the entire football game. It's just moving on to that next play. We make a play happen, and if something bad happens, let's pick each other up and make the play happen again the next time. And I think it speaks to the mindset this team has, and that's kind of the mindset I had early in my career, is that the penalties weren't going to affect us. We were going to go out there and score no matter what. And so I was proud of the guys. Like I said, I'm proud of the guys because we've been in these situations early in the season. We haven't responded well. And so it shows that we're kind of battling through now and kind of building that toughness to be able to win games like that.
Now, going back to his ability to improvise and those 3 passing touchdowns, there was that improvising, right? You found Rashee Rice, who was just in the middle of the zone. You hit him on the run a little bit. Travis Kelce, you move around some blocks, and there he is. It's just that pickup, that backyard ball. And then Kareem Hunt just finding a way to be wide open in the end zone. Here was Patrick Mahomes on not having it on the first read and then having to go through your second and your third.
Yeah, I mean, the one that Travis, I probably should have thrown it to Xavier, and he probably scores. But I didn't, and so it's one of those on film. It's like, you should have thrown it, but you scored a touchdown anyway, so it's okay. If you don't score a touchdown, it's not as okay. And so it's I did a good job getting back to that. He was my third read, and so getting back to him, and then him working away from the guy and making a play. I left it a little inside too, and he was able to come back and make a big, strong catch on the football. And so I did a good job of that. Early in the game, I wasn't doing a good job. I mean, I'm thinking about like the first pass. I had a Tunyon over the middle, and I kind of didn't trust it and throw that ball. And so I'm doing better at that this year. It's just continue to get better and better at it.
Yeah, I found it interesting that he said on Kelce's 83rd touchdown, well, I probably should have thrown it to Xavier because he was open too. That's great to hear, though. You have multiple guys open on a play, as incredible as that. You will take that all day long from this offense. Mahomes also went on to discuss going back to Kelce after the pick. We heard Andy Reid talk about it a little bit. Here was the quarterback on having that consistent faith in his Hall of Fame tight end to pick up his play.
I don't know if it's because of the drop. I mean, that's a very reliable guy in big moments. I mean, he steps up to the occasion, and I think the interception, that ball, and that's kind of the not normal. The normal is him making the play and making a big play in a big moment. And so whenever we get the matchups, they had a lot of guys focused on the Rashee and some of these other guys. Let's get it to the big 8-7 and let them get the first down and move the chains.
Now, we know there's going to be a play every single week where the Chiefs try to get really creative. And tonight, it was Rashee Rice actually lining up at quarterback. What did Patrick Mahomes have to make of that formation?
Yeah, I mean, you get 4 and 1 in the backfield. That's tough for defenses. They got to decide if they're going to take the speed away with 1 or 4 running up the middle. And he says he can play quarterback, but I've seen him throw, so we're going to I don't know about that. So we'll probably stick to running the football when they're back there.
Well, we know that he can pitch it. He can hit the side of a helmet. We know he's got that pinpoint accuracy. If he was aiming for the helmet and he wasn't trying to get to the official, because if he was trying to get to the official, then I probably don't want to see Rashee Rice throwing too many footballs or pitching the football in the middle of a primetime game. But he's got the speed, too. He absolutely had some game-changing speed tonight and certainly on his touchdown play. And lastly, here was Patrick Mahomes on finding Travis Kelce on that one. We don't want to call it a broken play, but nobody was open. Travis Kelce was there to block, and then all of a sudden, he just slips out of the backfield, hits him in stride, and it was a large, large gain that set the Chiefs up for yet another score.
Yeah, I mean, even though we haven't been hitting some of these explosive plays, the defenses are respecting it. And so that was actually a shot play down the field, or I think I had 1 and 5, and they covered him well, and the safety was extremely far deep. And Travis was supposed to block, and he was blocking, and you kind of have to play ball. And so he just released because he saw no one was guarding him, and I threw him the football, and he made a lot of stuff. He made a lot of yards and happened after the catch. He kind of stumbled. I thought he was going to hurdle the guy. He kind of stumbled a little bit, but he did a good job of getting a lot of yards after that.
All right, that was Patrick Mahomes after the game tonight. 28-7 the final at Arrowhead Stadium. Mahomes throws for 299, 3 touchdowns, had a quarterback rating just north of 104. Let's take a quick break here, come back. Before we get to Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, want to get our locker room report done. Our very own Steven St. John and Todd Lebo were down in the locker room after the game. We'll play probably one interview from that before Matt. So let's hit our break now. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB.
helping protect. He just realizes that his quarterback's in trouble. But this is the eyes and the awareness of Patrick Mahomes. Just knows where all his eligibles are at all times. And you really can't give any quarterback in this league that kind of time, but especially someone of the caliber of Patrick Mahomes.
And that was Patrick Mahomes who made the right choice, which is brought to you by Choice Solutions. Make the right choice today by going to choicesolutions.com for their trusted IT consulting and managed services. And you are tuned into the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is presented by Shamrock Roofing and Construction, a proud supporter of Cars for Heroes and giving back to those in need. ShamrockRoofer.com. Also, we're presented by Bodabox Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Bodabox, the ultimate tailgate wine. Real quickly, before we get to Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, we've got the Locker Room Report, which is brought to you by Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance. Whatever you do, if you are a Missourian, we are for you. We are Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance, and we've got you covered. Let's start things off here with Mike Dana, who was with our very own Stephen St. John. You'll be hearing him on A New Day with SSJ coming up in about 6 hours. But here was that post-game audio with the guy who had an interception and also had a sack in the 28-7 victory over Washington.
Mike, you had interception and a sack. When's the last time that you had an interception in a game?
Man, that was my first one in the career. I ain't never had an interception before in any level, collegiate,
Not even in
high school. I had a 60-yard scooping score, maybe like 2 of them in college, but not an interception.
Take me through what happened in that play.
They were driving the ball down the field, man. They were getting closer to that red zone, and they threw a screen, and the ball deflected up from Debo or whatever, and just hustling to the ball, man, and I was gifted interceptions in my hand. Most of it just hustling to the ball, so we pride ourselves to hustling to the ball every single day at practice, and we take that stuff to heart.
When you saw that ball up in the air, what were you thinking?
Just please land on my hands. It was in slow motion, so I just knew, it was a good opportunity, and those opportunities don't come often. So, I just try to cash in on it.
And you had a big sack. Tell us about that play as well.
Well, they left me on block, man. So we had a 4-down rush, and I think everybody slid to Chris and Charles' side, and that left me and George, with a 2-on-1 opportunity, and we just took advantage of it on our side. And like I said, I was just on block, man, and you just made the play, just did my job.
What's the last time you can remember? What's the closest you've ever come to having an interception?
I came close to one 2 years ago at New England. The ball was tipped up in the air, and a bunch of us D linemen was scuffling and scraping for it, and nobody got it. So, this one was kind of good, to have, I'm definitely going to enjoy this one.
How does it feel just to make a big impact on a game like tonight?
Oh, it feels great, man. You kind of just got to, stay the course, stay true to the process, man. You understand that opportunity is going to come, and when you get those opportunities, you just got to cash in on them.
Can you talk about the defensive performance and shut them out in the second half?
Oh, man, defense, hats off to Coach Spags, hats off to all 3 levels, to linebackers, DBs, D-line. Everybody played well. The whole team played great, all 3 phases. First half was a little shaky, but, we wanted to come out in the second half and make a statement, and, we did just that.
What was the conversation like at halftime after, like you said, a shaky first half?
We knew that wasn't our best ball in that first half, and we just wanted to come down and, come out that second half and, apply pressure, and, just play ball how we play ball. And we figured out a way, and, we shut them out. So.
Couple more.
Now it's Buffalo next. I know you want to enjoy this one, but that's always a highlight game in the NFL.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it. It's always a challenge. Each week's a challenge, we got to hone in on our coaching tips and practice. We got to execute what we got to do. And just all cylinders, we got to be, we got to just, execute. And I think the thing about that is just, not looking too far ahead. Handle it one day at a time, and everything's going to fall in place for us.
Mike, looking in the past, this team's only given up 14 points in its last 10 quarters on defense. So is it gel officially, or you still have some stuff to take care of?
Oh, man, we always got work to do. It's never, ever gelled. We're playing good, but it's always more work. We always can improve on details, our techniques, fundamentals, So I think this week is going to be crucial for us. Everybody know we got a big opponent coming in, and we just got to stay sound, play sound football, and stay on top of our keys.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, that was the defensive star of the game for the Chiefs, and Mike Dana had the interception on the first drive of the game, the first series of the game, and then also had the probably back-breaking sack for the Washington Commanders. Was left unblocked, as he said, and just kind of got low to the ground and made sure that Marcus Mariota wasn't going anywhere. And Mariota was furious on that play. I believe it was with Cosme. I want to say it was the name of their guard that just didn't really pick up the blitz, or he thought that it was Brian Cook or Chamari Connor was coming down. He ended up not blitzing and then left Dana completely uncovered. So that did not make Marcus Mariota very happy, and that was really the last chance that the Commanders had to make things interesting. But the Chiefs get it done, 28-7. Mike Dana, a big reason why. We're about to have Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com on the show. If you're still looking to catch that action in Game 3 of the World Series, yeah, it's still going on. It's been going on for the entirety of our Red and Gold postgame show. They enter the bottom of the 13th. Tied up at 5. So the Blue Jays have failed to cash in extra innings. And, of course, the Dodgers have failed as well. Early in that game, Shohei Ohtani at the game-tying home run. You would have been listening to that right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. But now you can catch it over on 1510 AM ESPN Kansas City. We're going to take one of our final breaks. When we come back, we will get the thoughts from this game from Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He's coming up on the other side of the break on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You see the double move that Rashee Rice makes on Bobby Wagner. He's going to come across and act like he's hooking up, and Wagner jumps it, and then it's just a foot race, and it's one that Wagner's not going to make at his age.
And that was the sweet play of the game, which is brought to you by Andy's Frozen Custard. Stop by Andy's Frozen Custard, grab an 87 concrete, and help Travis's 87 and running foundation with every purchase. Do good while eating deliciousness. Andy's, top your day with a smile. You are tuned in to the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is presented by Boda Box Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. And we're presented by Shamrock Roofing and Construction, a proud supporter of Cars for Heroes and giving back to those in need. ShamrockRoofer.com. To wrap up our show, we're going to have Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com on here, give us his thoughts on the Chiefs' 28-7 victory over the Washington Commanders. Well, Matt, for a while, it didn't look like it was going to be a third straight impressive win. We knew that the Chiefs were probably going to find a way to win that football game, but maybe wasn't sure at halftime they were going to win by 3 scores. Is that the feeling that you had up there in the press box of this one might come down to the wire? Or did you always feel like in the second half this team was going to find a way to pull away?
You know, that's a really good question, Jack, because I'm not sure what I thought. I mean, I thought the first half was just confusing because both offenses struggled. I mean, there was some sloppiness, and you looked at the numbers. I mean, and the Chiefs were lucky to be tied in that game. I mean, obviously at that point they were losing the turnover battle. Washington was winning third downs. They had more yardage. You look at all the numbers, and it's like, gosh, I mean, the Commanders could easily be winning this game. And obviously, you know, in retrospect, had they taken some points early rather than, you know, chasing touchdowns, maybe it would have made the game a little bit differently. They could have easily had a 10-7 or 13-7 lead at the half, maybe, if they'd gone things a little bit differently. But I can also see why the Washington felt like that they needed touchdowns and not field goals to win this game, and the second half kind of proved that out. That, you know, I think this season you might get fortunate with the Chiefs maybe self-inflicted wounds causing them to miss out on some scoring drives. I just don't know if there's going to be a lot of defenses that get a lot of wins on some Chiefs drives. So if you get some of those self-inflicted wounds, you probably need to take advantage of them. But honestly, at the half, I didn't feel like that Washington was going to be able to continue hanging with the Chiefs, and inevitably that's what happened. The Chiefs' attrition kind of won out in the end.
How positive of a sign is it that when you just compared this team to last year's team, I don't know, Matt, I felt that if last year's team were to play this Commanders team in the same way they were tonight, we would have been sweating it out in the final minutes of this one just because they didn't have that ability to pull away, whereas this team, they can have 2 turnovers on their first drive. They can look sloppy in the first half. But once they make those adjustments, I mean, hell, we're going to wake up in the morning, or people are going to wake up in the morning and go, that game was never close. And this team's ability to do that, man, it makes them dangerous, doesn't it?
I mean, it really does. And, you know, and it comes down to what they have available to them. I mean, you know, they're getting significantly better play at left tackle, which means they're getting significantly better play across the offensive line. They can even play a game without a guy like Trey Smith, and Mike Caliendo keeps the show going. That wasn't the same last year. I mean, with the struggles that they were having at left tackle, if anybody else missed the game, then that was just going to be, you know, double wreckage. And then on top of that, you know, they were playing the entire season without Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown. So, you know, most of the time for Patrick Mahomes, I think it felt like he was playing with one hand tied behind his back, and that's kind of how it was for the entire offense too. Now you're seeing what happens when this offense is at full strength and there are no restrictions on them, and then they start having fun. And that's what this team is doing. I mean, you know, Mahomes kind of mentioned it I think in his post-game comments that there wasn't a lot of fun last year. I mean, obviously they were playing a lot of close games, and they were winning because they were still the better team and had the better quarterback, but they didn't have the capability and the firepower to go out and win games and pull away from a game and comfortably like this. And you're right, Jack. I mean, last year this game was probably 17-14, and the Chiefs, eke it out at the end. This year, however, with both sides of the ball playing well and them playing I mean, this is the very definition of what coaches talk about complementary football, which is when the offense just holds on to the ball for a long time and scores and then gives it back to a well-rested defense to then shut down the other team. I mean, that's what the Chiefs are doing right now.
We're talking with Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com here on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. Is it fair to say that the Jacksonville loss was that true wake-up call? Because we have seen this defense basically be lights out. I understand that two of these opponents were not very good offensively going into the game with the Raiders and Geno Smith and then Mariota and the Commanders, but that more so is about Mariota than the Commanders' offense as a whole, because we know with Jaden Daniels that offense can light it up. But they also had the Lions in this three-game stretch, this three-game homestand, I should say, and the defense has come to play every single night, and so has the offense. Can we allude to that Jacksonville game and go, when it's all said and done this year, at least in the regular season, that's going to be the game we point to of that's when they finally woke up and now their claws are out?
Yeah, it sure seems like, I mean, and if it's not just even Jacksonville, maybe it's a series of games in a row, because, I felt like the Chiefs kind of, I mean, even though they played well against the Eagles in week 2, they played well enough to win that game. But, it seemed like the second half against the Giants was when things kind of started turning around. And, they get a win, and then they're back-to-back, and now it's seeming like things are kind of cooking together here. And then you're right. I mean, Jacksonville was a complete team loss. Once again, a game they could have won had any one phase of the game been a little bit better. But, I mean, in that game, special teams let them down. The defense let them down. Honestly, the offense let them down, too, because they didn't make the plays that they needed when they needed it. Obviously now, I mean, you'd say the offense is just better positioned to make plays because they got some guys back that they didn't have for that game. But defensively, I think you're right. I mean, there was probably some accountability and a wake-up call in that regard for that game that came together. I think, obviously, the special teams had so many penalties in that game that Dave Tobe had to read them the riot act, and that kind of looked like it got turned around pretty quickly the next week. This game, I mean, honestly, special teams probably had another little bit of a weak performance today, although that, Harrison Butker's kick that got muffed and Washington starts at the 2 that was exactly what he was trying to do against Jacksonville. Ironically, he kicked the ball a little bit too far right in that game. In this game, he put it exactly where he wanted to, and they got the muff that they've been looking for. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, I think we will look back at that Jacksonville game. I've thought since that Jacksonville game that we're going to look back at that game at the end of the season and just try to figure out how in the world did the Chiefs lose that game, because they had no business losing that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a game in which they outgained their opponent by a lot. You've got the pick six turnover. You've got the special teams gaffe. But the good news is the Chiefs have responded emphatically with 3 consecutive blowout victories. And now, Matt, up next, they got another rematch from the AFC title game. They'll be on the road in Buffalo against a Bills team that hasn't been as dominant as they've been in the last couple of years, especially early on in the regular season. How comfortable should Chiefs fans feel going into this one? Because it's one thing, to be riding the high of a 3-game winning streak, but they are coming off of beating 2 lesser opponents, one of them with a backup quarterback. Yes, they beat the Lions, but people could say, well, that defense was banged up. What type of Buffalo team should we expect? We know the atmosphere is going to be phenomenal. Their fans have been waiting for this game yet again, but it does feel like a different Bills team from previous years, and right now it does have the Chiefs as a 1.5-point favorite on the road. Is that about where it should be, or is Buffalo still a better team right now?
Yeah, I think history just says that that's probably where it should be, because these two teams just play close and competitive games, and I get the Chiefs being the favorite because they are arguably the better team right now. The only concern to me about Buffalo is obviously their defense. That's been the one consistent throughout the season that they've struggled with. Now they're coming off a game where the offense bounced back. Josh Allen had a good day. The offense had a good day, so they're going to be feeling good about themselves. Defense actually had a pretty good day for themselves. So, that's maybe something to be concerned about, is that maybe the defense is going to start feeling a little bit better. But that's what you've got to take advantage of. And, and it's going to be tough, and that crowd and that atmosphere we'll see what the weather's going to be. But I assume in November in Buffalo, it's always going to be miserable. We'll see what happens. But it's going to be a tough environment. And let's face it, I mean, because the Buffalo has never been able to get over this hurdle, it's the same thing that the Chiefs used to have. The Chiefs, they couldn't get past the Steelers. They couldn't get past the Patriots. It wasn't until they started winning those games that they felt like they could win them consistently. And so Buffalo, since they can't win the postseason game against the Chiefs, they still want this. So I would expect this to be Buffalo's best effort next week. And I don't know what and how the Chiefs are going to manage it. I mean, we've seen the Chiefs with the blowout wins the last 3 games, like you mentioned, and part of that's because, Andy Reid has just really let it fly. And traditionally, Andy Reid's kind of played a little conservative against Buffalo in the regular season, because he usually thinks he's going to see them again, and you very well might see Buffalo again. So do you want to use your best stuff next week, or do you want to save it for January? I mean, Andy Reid wants to win the war, not the battle. And so it's not the Chiefs aren't going to try and win next week. They are. They could very easily win next week and win in January. But that's the more important one that the Kansas City wants every year.
Yeah, big spot for the Chiefs and Bills next Sunday, or actually this coming Sunday, since this was Monday Night Football. Chiefs at 5-3, the Bills at 5-2. As we said, Kansas City a 1.5-point favorite. Matt, thanks so much for sticking around late, and we'll talk to you after that game this Sunday.
Sounds great. That's going to be like early evening, Jack.
It'll be nice. Not as good as the noon game, but it's always much better than getting you on at 12:20. So get some rest, and we'll talk to you then.
Sounds great, my friend. Take care.
There he goes. That's our guy, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, always giving us the great insight after the game. We're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up on the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
free. Great defense. Watson.
Well, Jalen Watson, he almost intercepted that ball. He read it so quickly. He had interception on his mind.
And it brings up 3rd and 11. Dana, a sack. He's got a pick in this game and now a sack, and that loss of 9 will take the Commanders out of field goal range.
And that sack by Mike Dana was the Stack the Box defensive play of the game. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda Box is the premium boxed wine that wins with wine critics. Boda Box, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Box Vineyards, Manteca, California. Chiefs get it done for the 3rd consecutive week. They hammer the Washington Commanders in the second half and hold on for a 28-7 win. Back-to-back weeks of holding an opponent under 10 and 3 consecutive weeks of holding an opponent under 20. Up next, it will be the Buffalo Bills. Probably the game that everybody outside of Kansas City and Buffalo has circled on their date this coming Sunday. Must-watch TV, appointment TV, as we all love to call it, Chiefs and Bills, and we'll have it right after the game on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Talk to you then, Kansas City.